still on my camera. Maybe you fix that one on YouTube.
Hello,
Right?
everyone. Welcome to the Monday live show with Alan and Greg and our guest, Mark, with Book Time for Elvis. If anyone's in the audience,
Or
hello.
Book Time with Elvis. It's the same thing.
Did I say Book Time with Elvis?
Said Book Time for Elvis or something.
A book.
Everyone knows who he
All
is.
right. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
So welcome, everybody. We're just going to have a few minutes of mindless chit-chat before we start getting into books and topics. I was called to task once saying that not everyone is punctual on these shows.
Right.
And they wind up missing some topics.
Yeah, we used to dive into what are you reading currently? We used to dive right into it. And then by the time people would be showing up, we'd be on to another topic, and they're going, well, what are you talking about? So people don't join in for 5 minutes.
It's okay. So we can.
We got it down now.
We got it down. Just a little bit of the weather. I think everyone except Alan is having hot weather.
That's true.
Yeah, it's beautiful here in Portland, Oregon, USA.
The Pacific Northwest is one of my favorite places to live because the summers are usually so mild out there.
I mean, I heard it rains a lot though, doesn't it? Or
we tell everybody that so they don't come up here.
The thing is about the Northwest, especially in Seattle, you get rain every day, but it's just a light drizzle.
Or a mist.
A mist. And you actually get more rainfall per year here in Virginia than you do. You have fewer rainy days, but yesterday we just had a torrential downpour for like a half an hour where it just is coming down in buckets.
Oh. We haven't had any rain like that in months.
Well,
we haven't had any rain in months.
Yeah. Hello, Zap.
Hey, Zap.
Hey, Zap.
And he's saying, hello, Elvis. How is the paw?
I think it's on the mend, thanks, Zap. Yeah, I mean, he's not aggressively licking it anymore.
Did he step on something sharp? Uh-oh. Mark is frozen.
Oh, he is?
Is he not frozen on your end?
I don't know.
Yeah,
he was bad. I don't know.
I didn't hear about Elvis. Mark, what happened to his paw?
Yeah, he ripped his dew claw.
Oh, okay.
And it had to be removed. So it's growing back. It's growing back, but it did cause him a lot of pain. Yeah, so it was not very pleasant. But yeah, I mean, I thought he had broken his leg. The way he reacted, he pulled up, and the way he was holding his paw, I was like, oh my god, he's broken his leg. But no, luckily, so. But.
Yeah, I remember talking to someone. They had another kind of dog, but at birth, there's a trend to remove the dew claws just at birth.
It's probably for I don't really know the purpose of them. I mean, sometimes I see when Elvis is like kind of cleaning himself or scratching, maybe it helps him to like itch. Maybe it is a sexual thing as well. I don't know, because obviously they don't have thumbs, so it might allow them to get some kind of purchase. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't really see the point other than the fact they get pulled and ripped and they're just in the way all the time. So yeah, I wish I just said to her, remove both of them while you're at it, but he already had his balls removed, so I'll leave him the dew claws.
Yeah. So Todd, good afternoon, guys. Looking forward to this live. Special hello to your guest, Mark.
Hello,
starting Todd. A book called The House of Silk by Anthony Horowitz. Any thoughts? Did he write the Magpie Murders?
Yeah, I don't know. Is he the same one who does the Rivers of London books? Is it?
I'm not sure. Todd will have to explain now. I did mean someone with a very similar name called the Magpie Murders.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Anthony Horowitz, Magpie Murders are just.
That was actually a pretty good book. That
I think I've heard of that one.
you actually had two books in one, because it's the story of a book editor editing the final book in a series by a famous author who's died. And you learn he's died right in the beginning. And she reads the book and she discovers it's missing its last chapter, where the whole murder is resolved. He says, "Oh, why is this last chapter?" So there's a mystery novel of her trying to find this last chapter. But you also get the entire mystery book. So you're reading two, and how it's interesting because he wrote that last mystery book with some real life events, as I remember, in the town that he lived in. So it's connected. So you have to read the mystery book to understand the actual mystery that she's trying to solve. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's done a series called the Alex Rider series. But I don't know. So who's the guy who did the Rivers of London books then? It's a similar name. And because you've been doing this like occult detective. Ben Aronovich. So
Okay.
yeah.
So Mark, The Wager was very good. Right up my alley, said Zap.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it was really interesting. But the funny thing is that like I'm reading other books at the moment that are also nonfiction and in the same period, and it's kind of funny that it's already been mentioned, in one of my other books. So
I have it on my to be read list, but I'm sort of holding back because I'm going to do the BookTube prize again next year for nonfiction, and I have a very strong opinion that The Wager is at least going to make it to the first round.
It's a quick read, though, Greg. Really, it's a page turner. It's it's definitely a good piece of quick nonfiction, I would say.
Yeah, well, that's it. I said I'm planning on reading it next year for presumably the BookTube prize. So, because I just finished up my current year.
Oh, it's all done, is it?
Well, I have to submit my ballot, saying my ranking, and then you will learn what books won in October. And I have to think, are my tops? I actually think one of the, I won't say which book are, but I think the book that's going to take the top prize is not in my top three.
I don't follow it myself. I used to follow it a little bit, but
I like it a lot because it gets me to read books that I would not ordinarily pick up. And some of them were very good. There was only really two duds in the group that I read. One was what's it called? Body Work by Melissa something. And she was known for being a sex dominatrix worker in her early 20s. And she wrote a book about it, got famous. And this book was about writing your memoirs of sex. And I just said, it's not sex, right? It's like why you should write memoirs of your own sex life. And I'm going like, nah.
Yeah, I'm sure mine would be a bestseller too.
Mine would be a bunch of blank pages.
Yeah.
What would the name of your memoir be, Alan?
It would be Continuous Binges.
God
That's just off the top of my head. That's just off the top of my head.
Why not?
God gave rock and roll to you. God gave rock and roll to you. He put it in the
Chris
soul.
Beveridge.
Oh, hello, MJ.
Oh, MJ's there.
Chris is a commentator extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Beveridge, yes.
Okay.
I've learned a lot from him. I have to be honest, but sometimes his comments are over my head on like my own personal channel. But hi, Chris, and hey, MJ.
One thing for MJ, I got to show MJ one thing. Hold on.
Bon appetit, MJ. Enjoy your lunch.
Okay, I've got a package I have to mail either this afternoon or tomorrow for MJ. Here you go, MJ.
What's that?
A paperback from hell.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You guys doing that roundabout.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's wonder. I mean, I'm sorry, MJ. This book is not in great condition, but I found it. It's rare. It cost me $1, and I'm sending it on our way. Okay, so so let's talk about what we've been reading. Enough time for people to gather in, and Mark, as the guest, you can tell us.
You go first.
Okay, I shall go first. Now, I could tell you what I'm reading, what I should be reading. I should be reading The Three Musketeers, which is actually really good. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, well, yeah, but it's actually a lot of fun, and it's surprisingly funny. But the problem is, I can't bring myself to sit down and read it, even though I'm really enjoying it, because I'm on this big non-fiction kick at the moment, right? So I'm being called away, right, by these other books, and I guess I was influenced through these podcasts and things I was listening to over the summer, and I listened to this wonderful series called Empire, and it looks at different empires and does series based around them. They did one series on slavery, on different forms of slavery, but mostly the transatlantic stuff started to interest me. So I started reading, books related to that. And I just finished one called The Interest by Michael Taylor. And it was really interesting. It was all about how the establishment in Britain kind of fought against abolition, because Britain always likes to put itself out there that, yeah, okay, we were big slavers, but then, we were like the champions of ending slavery. And of course, when you really look deep into it, it's kind of nonsense, but it was quite revelatory. And that led me on to kind of different books because of different people mentioned in it. Zap already mentioned The Wager. That was one I just finished too. But currently I'm reading one called The Club by Leo Damrosch, I think. Damrosch. And it's about the club that was formed with Samuel Johnson and Joshua Reynolds and James Boswell. And it's brilliant, I have to say. It's so interesting looking into the lives of these people. And a lot of it's, for example, taken from Boswell's life of Samuel Johnson, where he records the conversations between, like Adam Smith is there, Edward Gibbon is there, and they just have all these chats late into the night over food and everything. But also Boswell himself, there's bits about him from his diaries, and he's a funny guy because he thinks himself as an intellectual, but he isn't. He's not in the same league as these people, and he just does stupid things. He's addicted to sleeping with prostitutes. He's trying his best. Every time he's like, I'm not going to do it anymore, and then like a few pages later, it's like, oh, I went on a frenzy last night and met 3 women, and they gave me permission to board and all this kind of. You won't be like direct about it, And then the really funny thing is he goes on like a tour of Europe. And he decides he's going to meet like some famous, celebrities of his day. So he goes to meet and forces himself into meeting, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Voltaire and all this kind of stuff. And eventually, this is so typical of him. Like Rousseau has to flee where he's living, and he decides to move to England. And he leaves his like mistress / housekeeper behind. And Boswell meets up with her in London, and she said, "Will you accompany me to in Paris? Sorry, will you accompany me to London?" He's like, "Sure." And of course, he sleeps with her. So like his big ambition is to have like this relationship with all these great men, but he knocks it on the head by like unfortunately sleeping with their mistresses. But that's really good. And then another one linked to it is my last one. Don't worry. Another one.
One of my mentors at Arizona State, my alma mater, was a writer, the late great Mark Harris. He wrote "Bang the Drum Slowly," which is a Higgins novel. He wrote in a series, but then he made a movie out of that book. Bang the Drum Slowly with De Niro and other actors. But he wrote other books on Boswell and Johnson, and that's where I was introduced to them a little bit, and they're really hilarious.
Yeah, and they're such good friends. I mean, it's actually quite heartwarming. The
Yeah,
love.
I wish Thomas Pynchon would write a novel about them.
Yeah, it would be
Like
great.
Mason and Dixon, only Boswell and Johnson.
I mean, the love the two feel for each other. I mean, of course, purely platonic, actually, but
Oh, yeah.
really they do, and just how sensitive both men actually are. Like, you think of the time as being very barbaric, which it was, but Boswell goes and watches a cockfight, and he's actually he's upset by it. Yeah, he thinks these poor chickens, these poor cockerels, and then he decides he's going to go and watch a public execution. But he goes the day before to meet the person being executed in prison to talk to stuff, Then he goes to the execution, and he's so upset by it that he asks his friend, not Johnson, but somebody else, if he can sleep with him that night. He doesn't want to be alone, after watching it. So that's really surprising. There's really a lot of humor as well. I mean, one of my favorite quotations from the book was from Johnson when he meets these two little old ladies, and they say, "Oh, Mr. Johnson, we can't tell you how much we appreciate the fact you didn't put in, rude words into your dictionary." And his reaction was, "But madam, I'm surprised you were looking for them."
Yeah.
But anyway, the last thing I'm reading at the moment, which is also linked because Johnson is in this book too, and it's called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness, Britain and the American Dream, 1740 to 1776. Also fascinating, I have to say, because it starts off, I'm still in the first 4 or 5 chapters. It's mostly based around Benjamin Franklin at the moment, who I didn't know a huge amount about, but he's really interesting character. And it's kind of like looking at his printing business, and then this relationship he forms, like a long distance correspondence with this William Strahan in London, who's a printer, and they start like exchanging books for sale in the respective countries. So Strahan becomes the first printer / bookseller in England that ever sells a book that was printed in America. Which is kind of cool. And obviously then it links in with other thinkers. Johnson's going to make an appearance because he's at the time writing the dictionary, and Strahan is part of the cooperative that has been assigned to pay for its production, and to print its production. But no, I'm really enjoying Benjamin Franklin. He's an interesting character. I'm at the part at the moment where he's learning about electricity, and the author's talking about all these stories where people are trying out electricity for the first time on things, and there's stories of one guy electrocuting 180 soldiers, not killing them, thankfully, and then he does another experiment on 300 monks. These visions of these monks all holding hands, and but it is excellent, I have to say. Even after 5 chapters, I would totally recommend it. Yeah.
Okay, I have a book on Johnson. I don't know if I can find it real quick. Oh well, it's called Something in Mr. Savage.
Oh yeah.
Remember the author?
It is Johnson, isn't it?
No, it's a modern day book. Oh well, I don't want to spend all my time looking for a book on my shelf. Let me get through some comments.
Oh, it's Richard Holmes, maybe Dr. Johnson.
Richard Holmes. Yeah, that's it. I'll look for it in a second. Hello, Sonia. MJ is eating a boring salad. Yep, that book is definitely worth $1. Salads are the shit. Hello, Williams Library. Saying hello to hello, Alexis. Hello, gentlemen. Sending my love. Journey. We got Bad here. Hello, Bad. People saying hello to each other. Bad is loving your T-shirt, Alan.
Yeah, it is a good one.
Hey, William. My God, wherever you are. Is Alan okay? Yeah, he's just coughing a bit. Waiting for the
My
Electrician.
allergies.
Actually, I'm reading a fantastic book about how it is to be a young
I'm okay,
teenager.
Alexis.
Not horror,
I have
just
allergies.
a true life experience. Or is that just that's sort of about a young teenager? Bad as that's
Here's
how
what I take
Elvis.
for my allergies.
All right.
Good stuff. He's fine, thank you, Bad. He's doing well, thanks.
Okay, Alan, what
Oh,
have
Elvis,
you been
never
reading?
talk about Elvis. What am I reading?
Yeah, you're up next.
Okay, let me. I got my books right here. While Dad and I are going through Catcher in the Rye. So I like to read this book every 5, 10 years or so. I've read this probably 5 times or more. Then for September, reading Richard III. I'm having a hard time with my camera finding it. Yeah, which leads me to like other Shakespeare, like Coriolanus or
Coriolanus.
Titus Andronicus is really violent too. So I'm doing a deep dive into Richard III. And I put up lights in my little art studio and where I read, like over here, just like see that light up there over my bed, so I can read. I've been reading some this one on Bull Run at night. Now, Cornwell's written a lot of. He's really prolific, and Greg and I'm sure probably Mark too will talk more about him than I know about him.
Yeah,
But
I've only read his book on Stonehenge.
Oh,
I don't think it was not that good, but the Rebel one we're reading we're going to read it because when Alan visits, I live about 30 minutes away from the Bull Run battlefield. So we want to look up the passages and say where this happened and go run and see the real life site.
And Bull Run was an early battle.
Bull Run was the first official battle of the Civil War. And the funny anecdote is that everyone thought it was going to be a total Union victory. And there were people watching on the hill. They brought their baskets and lunch. We're going to watch a battle. It's so exciting. And then I think they wound up fleeing for their lives as the bullets started flying.
And it was a South victory, was it?
It was definitely a South victory. The South won most of the battles early on. And the tide really started changing at Gettysburg. And Gettysburg, the fact that Union was a total fluke. They had one general, he has the initials, J.E.B. Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
He liked to gallivant around and prove what a roguish gentleman he was, and that's what he was doing. And instead of securing the high ground near Gettysburg, and that caused the South to lose Gettysburg. All right, let's see if we got some more comments here before I tell you what I've been reading.
Is it while you're looking at the comments, because you mentioned obviously. I always hear people talking about obviously the battlefields of the Civil War and all this.
Right.
Like, what about battlefields of the Revolutionary War? Do they don't get the same kind of treatment?
They don't. There are probably some out there, but it's just the American Civil War is just really big. People really love that history. There's a lot to see. It's spread out.
In Boston, I'm sure, Mark. In Boston, there's a lot of like memorials and things. And
it could be
New England.
So it's more concentrated around New England, New York, that kind of.
I think that is correct.
I've never been to Boston yet. I'd love to go to Boston, but
people are just saying hi to each other, and I'm really just scrolling through those rather quick. Williams, great reading, Cloud Atlas.
Ah.
That's a good one.
Never heard of that.
Yep, I already mentioned that one. All right, going through these. All right.
Thank you.
Mark,
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you need to read it, don't you? Sorry.
I said. He says up there. I love that portrait of you and Elvis in the back there. Mark, did you take that photo?
I took the photo. I guess it was a selfie, and then my mum had it printed and sent to me on this kind of acrylic thing, and I didn't know where to put it. A couple of people said it's a bit off-putting, but then when I mentioned it in my practice live the other day, people were like, keep it. So I'm going to keep it up.
Yeah, I liked it when I saw it.
That looks like he was
I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, he was like I don't know, 3 months old. He used to sit like almost like a parrot, perched on the back of my shoulder.
So Bad is asking what Todd is currently reading. Aaron Hook. Apparently, Cornwell stopped writing the Starbuck Chronicles to write the Saxon stories. So we may get the rest of the Civil War covered in the coming years. Okay. Saying hi to Bad. Oh, Bad is, I'm reading Loose Girl, a memoir of promiscuity by Carrie Chen. It's very sad in a way that it's hard to be a teenage girl growing up. Absolutely amazing book. I'm also reading Catcher in the Rye.
Mm-hmm.
Bad asking how MJ's doing. I'm good, thanks. Having lunch with us all. How are you? All right. So what have I been reading? Well, last week I read very little because I was on a road trip. And we had a guest, so we were on the go almost all day long. So at the end of the day, I read a chapter or two of Dune. I'm rereading Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune. But I only got like a chapter or two a day, so it's like I'm kind of behind. However, when you're riding in a long road trip, I was able to listen to an audiobook. And I listened to this as an audiobook.
Oh, I read that.
What?
I read that years ago.
I don't think this is actually a very good book.
But there's memorable scenes like that scene with the urinal cake, the peppermint urinal cake that he covers in chocolate and feeds to his girlfriend and all his friends. I'll never forget that. Ugh. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
The problem is that not even getting into the extreme sexual violence, I think it's just a poorly written book.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I think it's so poor is that he always describes what clothing people are wearing and mentioning what brand of clothes it is.
I think that, I don't know. I mean, I read it a long time ago and I was in my early 20s. And I think I read it after the film came out. But I got the impression, because I noticed that. I remember, now you said that, I remember that. But I just felt that was part of the whole yuppie, materialistic vibe was why I thought he probably did that. But I might be wrong.
It could, but the problem is, if you said, I'm wearing a Brooks Brothers suit, he's wearing an Armani suit. It's gibberish to me, because if you hung one up, I would not be able to pick out this is the Armani, this is the Brooks Brothers, and
which is more expensive. And yeah,
I have no idea.
Me neither.
So,
but I know what a urinal cake is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we all know what those are, but and the character.
You remember that scene of what I'm talking about? Man, I think he makes it like a chocolate cake and serves it to it.
Yeah, no, I remember it vaguely.
Yeah, it's. I think the only thing that's, just not even getting the extreme violence is what the book is remembered for. It just being over the top and whatnot. But
I like Christian Gale as an actor, though. I mean, it's not one of his best roles, but I can't believe he even took the role, but
Mm.
it's a wild movie.
I don't know. For me, his best role was when he was a little boy and he was in Empire of the Sun. I think that's a great film.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that in decades.
Mm. Ah,
So-
yeah, just
Tony,
rub it in, Sonia. Rub it in. We're reading it together, so I've been like the worst
Oh.
buddy for buddy reading this month.
which translation are you trying to read?
Oh well, actually, I have to say, I'm quite impressed with it. Behind me, I've got the Penguin Richard Pevier, or whatever his name is.
That's the one I read most recently.
But I'm actually reading it on ebook, and I'm reading the new one, Lawrence Ellsworth.
Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about Lawrence Ellsworth. Is that
it's good, really good. I mean, it's a shame. I think in a normal month, I wouldn't have put it down. But I don't know, because I've never read it in its entirety. I've probably only read like children's versions or abridged versions, when I'm young, and of course seen countless films. But it really is a comedy. At least the way Ellsworth is presenting it is just funny. I'm laughing almost all the time. So, go figure. I didn't expect it to be so funny.
Now, the one thing about the Ellsworth translations is that they're breaking up some of the longer sequels into multiple books.
Mm.
Like the sequel 20 years afterward, I think is like normally like a 900-page book or something.
Mm.
And so they're breaking it up into 2 books to make you buy it twice.
Well, I mean, he's doing it all himself, and I think it's quite incredible that the man actually decided to learn French just for being able to translate it.
Is that I did not know the story.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, I think Sean D. Stanfast told me this, or maybe Steve Donahue, one of the two, which I thought was quite incredible. And then, there's rumors that he's going to put out a Count of Monte Cristo, which would be very good.
I love that book.
Yeah, no,
I'm really fond of that book.
Loved it as well.
Mm-hmm. So let's finish up some. Sounds like a great lunch with guys just outside with the pets, hanging out with all you. Well, glad to have you.
Yeah, I've been up all night. I've been up writing, actually, going through some old stories, and I'm typing up a new story for the Garb August anthology. I'm going to submit to that. I'm trying to keep it short. I know how it ends. It ends with a dead body in a bathtub. I'll tell you that. But
we're not speaking from experience there, but
no. And it's actually a skeleton in a bathtub. The story is called Harry Skeleton. So I just have to write it to the end now. It's a weird process. But I'm having fun. I've been typing about 2,000 to 5,000 words a day for the past 2 days.
it's pretty
That's
good.
good.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, like Hemingway tried to get 500 in every day. But 500 is only like a page. So
there's I didn't know about, because I don't really take part in Garb August. There's always so much on, and I don't know. And I'm just wondering then, if there's this anthology and you're writing for it now.
Well, I'm just going to submit a story.
Could be kind of interesting, couldn't it? Because you have to write garbage, right? I mean, maybe some of these writers didn't go out thinking they were writing garbage. The people you read, they might have thought it was like their life's work, Whereas
I'm good at getting things off the page. That back in the 80s in like MFA programs, the catchphrase was "get it off the page." You got to get it off the page. So I'm just taking it off the page over the top, just as far as I can go.
I remember last time I was on, Greg, you were talking about your own foray into
writing career.
Yeah. And you said it was a load of rubbish. So maybe now you could submit it to the Garb August anthology.
Yes.
You might find a home.
They might.
I agree.
Never been published. It's just 30 years old.
Well, I don't know if garbage does it have an expiry date?
I don't know. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's a better When it's
Visitors
expired, it's a
do.
little stinky.
Like a fine wine.
Visitors do.
Like a fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So here's-
unlike visitors.
So MJ's talking about Dune is really surprising me. I'm enjoying it more than I thought. I'm only 150 pages in and barely scratching the surface. Have either of you read Dune before?
No, I haven't.
I haven't.
All right, so we won't dally too long into Dune. We'll have to do that on her Discord, but it's just a reread for me, and I'm really enjoying it because it's one of the most remarkable examples of world building. Like he just nailed everything, and the characters are good. The plot is good. It gets a little mystical at times, and where you say, "Is this science fiction or is he really going into fantasy?"
Fantasy, yeah. Huh.
But no, he
I've
did.
I've seen part of the movie, but I've never read the book. I've never read The Lord of the Rings. I barely remember the movie. You know, I tried to read The Hobbit. I even tried to read The Hobbit in jail. Like in jail when you're starving for books. I couldn't even get into The Hobbit in jail. And I was with my baby's mama, Charity, tattoo up here. She was totally into fantasy and Tolkien in that. And even I still couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
Remind me,
Because
Alan.
I like Robert Johnson. I like Robert Johnson. Or Jordan. Robert Jordan, I mean.
Remind me, Alan. I want to send you a link when you mentioned jail there, because I watched recently this documentary of a prison on the Isle of Man.
Oh Lord, I'd like to see that.
It is like a joke. Seriously, there's like 100 prisoners on there, and it's men and women in the same jail, but obviously in different wings. There's only five women there, I think, at the time, and it's just ridiculous because like they're the same members of the same family. So it's like father and son are in there together, and it's just. I'll send it you. It is quite amusing.
Yeah, send it to me on Voxer, Mark. The Isle of Man, West Ireland.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got done watching that movie, The Banshees of Inisherin. What a great movie! Even Greg would like it. It's so good. You would like it, Greg. Have you seen that with Colin Farrell, Mark?
With who? Sorry, Colin Farrell.
Yeah, it's called the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, it rings a bell. Not sure.
It came out last year. It's a new movie. It's really good.
Was it a book before, or
the what?
Was it a book before? Because the name's very familiar.
No, I think it was written original screenplay.
All right, well, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
But it takes place in the Isle of Man, of Aran, the Aran Islands.
The Isle of Aran, yeah.
So Todd is reading The House of Silk. It's a new Sherlock Holmes novel by Anthony Horowitz. You mentioned it. Now, here's the thing is, like, I don't understand the fascination of writing more Sherlock Holmes stories. I know he's in public domain, but, Doyle wrote quite a few. And I just don't, I mean, that's just, I guess it's a personal taste. It's like, I don't need to have more Sherlock Holmes stories by a different author who's not Doyle.
I'm really ignorant about Doyle and Sherlock Holmes. I know Doyle more for his mystical side. Like he was connected to Golden Dawn, his occult side.
Now, Mark, you've read most of Sherlock Holmes, haven't you?
Oh, I've read all. I've read a lot of Doyle. I mean, I don't know if it was this month or next month that Michael K. Vaughan is running for his book club. He's doing the Adventures of Brigadier Gerard. Yeah, so it's a great character, but of course, all of his characters pretty much are like overshadowed by Sherlock Holmes. But his other stuff's really good. His historical fiction's good fun. If you read like The White Company or Sir Nigel.
That's his favorite book.
Yeah, but they're great. Proper swashbuckling, 100 Years War adventure stuff. Brigadier Gerard is like I don't know, maybe like a pseudo kind of. He's just again a bumbling brigadier from Napoleon's army, and it's like his memoirs and stuff. He did a lot of great stuff, and his non-fiction stuff's interesting too. One I would recommend to people if they like books about books, but I just can't remember the name of it. It's something like Through the Magic Door or something, where Doyle actually goes through all the books in his library, right, and starts talking about them and like giving examples and stuff. And that's very, very good. Let me just look up the name. So
yeah, I last month, a month or two before, I read The Lost World by him.
Brilliant.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you see, to me, the Challenger series could have been great. Yeah, because the Lost World is actually maybe my favorite. Well, I do enjoy The White Company as well, but maybe the Lost World is my favorite. But
there's a sequel to what was Challenger.
That's the problem. They're okay. I mean, I think they're either novellas or really like slightly longer short story, and then towards the end, I think there's only 5 of them in total. But the last one, it's very it's into spiritualism, is mysticism, and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, it does kind of move in, like there's a machine that in one of them that's going to destroy the earth and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of moves into more of that kind of science fiction rather than the whole kind of dinosaurs are living now era. But yeah, The Lost World is great fun.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. So here's MJ saying American Psycho is wonderful for fashion, not so much for the other stuff. Well, MJ, you got to write in Discord about the fashion part and get me to understand really what he's trying to prove, because otherwise it's like foreign languages to me. It's like I don't understand the meaning. House of Silk is fantastic read, Todd. I need to look it up. Are you enjoying it so far?
It is Through the Magic Door is his book about his books. Yeah, well worth it. Zach's got it. Yeah.
So Crybaby Films, reading Frankenstein. I've read Frankenstein like 5 times. Are you reading the 1818 edition or the revised 1830?
1816, I think, isn't it?
What?
The 1816 edition?
1818 is the original one written when she was still young, and then she revised it, trying to temper down some of the.
Yeah. I like her husband's poetry.
Yeah.
He was pretty good.
Mark, I saw Empire of the Sun at the theater. He was good in Newsies too. I guess you're talking about Christian Bale. The character in American Psycho, isn't he a fashionable person, rich and fabulous? I have seen the movie. Is there a lot of different scenarios than the movie versus the book? I've only read the book. I've never seen the movie, so.
It's too long ago for me, Bad. I don't know. And I think I did watch the film first, but I did enjoy the book as well. I think there's probably like more detail, more graphic stuff, of course.
In the book is so much better. The movie is more sexualized. You know, it's more Hollywood.
Yeah, maybe.
Where American Psycho is based in New York.
Let's try to get through some comments. I'm really behind. Frankenstein is a fantastic read. I read the book not long ago.
I heard it's all right.
Mary Shelley. Chris, the Revolutionary War was actually a civil war within the colonies, Mark. Many who lived here had no problem with you Brits. It got very ugly. Stay sober and vigilant. My brothers long.
Pay attention, Mark. You're getting an education, Mark. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Here's bad. I've been actually separating my books by mood. I have a bookshelf dedicated to the war books related.
Cool.
Here's MJ. Trash definitely does not expire. Hi, MJ.
Garbage does kind of expire. I mean, technically.
Didn't see you.
I've got some stuff over there that's going to expire in a few moments.
So, Chris, actually, the American Revolutionary War was a skirmish in a bigger war between France and England.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I did read something recently where they tried to put a positive spin on it, and actually that the Revolutionary War wasn't a defeat for Britain, because ultimately, they were able to hang on to their colonies in the Caribbean, which was far more financially profitable to them than any of the mainland North American colonies. Interestingly, but there you go.
Well, Thomas Jefferson was kind of concentrating on Louisiana at the time. Instead of,
So
boy, if we could have got Bermuda and Nassau and, oh man, we would have been happening.
So here's back. I just decided to get the Kindle Scribe. I'm sold on the idea. I will be purchasing one this following weekend. Okay,
it costs some money. That costs some money.
But you know something? I love my Scribe. It's not portable the way smaller Kindles are. I would never take it out. Like on my road trip, I left it behind because it's too valuable to bring.
Do you use it though, Greg, for the functionality that it exists for? I mean, are you actually writing in your books?
I write. I rarely take notes.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
I use quite a lot now just the iPad. Actually, I have to say, and the iPad reader. I'm really enjoying using that actually. So I mean, I have the Kindle too, but I don't know, just the clarity, something about it.
I like the larger screen because I can sit and I can put it down and rest it, just hit my thumb, and they get a lot more words on the page. So enjoy it. It's going to be quite an experience, I think. Todd, yep, it's a good group read. I was talking about Dune. Not too late to join in if you're interested. Aaron, I think trash expires when it stops making a profit for the publisher. Like the old men's paperbacks. Yeah, MJ saying, "Good for you, Jess. It's an amazing device." That I have a small collection of fantasy books. Fantasy books are a huge impact on the community. Lots of enjoyment there. Thanks, MJ. It's a great investment. I finally decided. Aaron, if you want to ease your way into Tolkien, the BBC radio adaptations of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are a good place to start.
Did you say Tolkien? Did you say Tolkien, Greg?
He said Tolkien. Yeah, I have to admit that I
think you mean Tolkien.
Tolkien? I have to admit that I have not finished Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it's Tolkien. I got corrected a long time ago for saying J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, so I'm so used to saying Tolkien now.
I just, you know, it just.
I'm just being a snob, man. I'm just being a snot.
Like I said,
I'm trying to find a couple. Here we go. I'm waiting for a couple of fantasy books. I'm waiting for Demon Copperhead for one.
That's not fantasy.
Then I'm waiting for Ken Follett's new one. But hang on one second. I'm waiting for Station 11, and I'm waiting for Fourth Wing. You've heard of Fourth Wing, right?
I've read Station 11, which is sort of science fiction, sort of not. You know, it crosses over that. Is that the post-apocalyptic story? Yep, Through the Magic Door is great.
Oh yeah, because Station 11 is from our Voxer Doomsday Club, or
one of the ones that didn't make at least the initial cut. You might get to it later.
Right.
So Chris read Sketches of an 18th Century America by J. Hector St. John de Colcourt, 1782. Mark, for the real hitherto repressed situation of the colonies. Excellent history.
Sounds good. I'm going to write that down, Chris. Thank you.
Long live rock. Books are always better. Movies, by their structure, have to be superficially all eyes, no brain. Dang, I want Fourth Wing, Alan.
Yeah, I just replied to her already. Buddy read with me, so we can buddy read that. Bad? Isn't technology wild? I can reply to live. I want to ask Mark a question about rugby.
Okay.
Now, because I already mentioned pre-show to Greg, we're going to talk about other things than books. So, is that a real thing like that we brought over from England about shoot the boot in America? That's a thing.
I don't know exactly. I mean, my first experience with shooting the boot was actually in Germany. It was rugby related, but in the rugby club I played for in Germany, they actually had a big glass boot, but like a proper riding boot, yeah. And we used to drink from it. And the problem was always to do with when you got to the heel. Because if you didn't do it in the right way, then there would be like an air bubble that would force all the rest of the beer into your face and things. So I don't know exactly where it comes from, but yeah, I mean, my experience with it, like you, was rugby based, but it was actually in Germany. And I think, a lot of German clubs, or it's quite a German thing, maybe, apparently, to have this boot. They did tell me the story behind it, but I have to say, after a few boots and being 20-something years ago, I can't tell you what.
Well, to shoot the boot, there's a sing-along, and it's a dirty sing-along, like, hey, laddie, laddie-o, hey, laddie, laddie-o. And if you mess up the words, you have to shoot the boot, right?
I'm sure there are just different versions of it.
Oh, well, that's how, like, American rugby, or back in college, it was wow.
I would be lying if I said that there wasn't a song of some sort, but it would have been in German if it happened at all. But I wasn't in much state to remember too much about the first experience.
Yeah,
you told me about it. So
yeah, I remember a lot of dirty ditties. I still remember them now from the 80s from Kent State going to rugby games.
Rugby was very famous for rude songs for sure. You could even buy books of rude rugby sing-alongs. So.
Oh man, I should get one. I'd like one.
And usually there's some famous tunes.
Rude sing-alongs or soccer clubs?
I guess there might be. I don't know why it just seems that kind of more that culture, surrounded with rugby for some reason. I don't know, but it depends obviously where you go. But rugby as a sport in Britain is very much geographical, and then in the geographical it depends on class, a little bit. So in the south of England, quite often, like the areas around London, it's more of a higher class game than football, and this kind of rowdiness and terrible behavior is quite often associated with people who go to very expensive schools. Why, I can't tell you.
Now, when I was
it's also where American football kind of came from. More than soccer, it came from rugby.
Well, I think they both somehow originate from football or soccer, because when I was young, it was much more common to refer to rugby clubs as rugby football clubs, RFC, rugby football club. And I think rugby was a derivation of soccer or football. The legend was that at the school rugby, which is a place, it's a real school in England. Can you hear something like a TV in the background?
I'm hearing a little like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It seems to be when we're speaking, so I think it's somebody's back feed or something, but it doesn't matter.
I got my TV off.
So there is a school called rugby in England, and the legend was there was a boy called William Webb Ellis. They were playing a game of soccer, and he decided to pick up the ball and run away with it. It was chased. And, the legend lives on in the World Cup, which is going on now, because the name of the trophy is the William Webb Ellis Trophy and this kind of stuff. But they're both linked, somehow or other. Yeah. And the word soccer actually comes, I believe, from is a derivation of the term association football. The middle part of association is like soccer, and it
Okay.
comes.
Yeah, we have a professional soccer team in Portland, or football team in Portland called PFC. And I worked it Saturday night. It was my third time working there. It's a huge stadium. I love working there. We get 40% off like food. So I always get like a chili dog or some kind of stadium food. Pay like
Do they serve
$2
beer?
for oh yeah, they got all kinds of beer, Portland beer, of course.
But do you get 40% off the beer as well, or just the food?
I've never tried for the beer. I just I'm too like tired on my break. We can't be drinking on our breaks unless we sneak it, But no, we can't get a beer.
So I have a question, I guess, for Mark. Is like, when I first heard about rugby in high school during the 80s, it had a reputation of being a very violent, harsh game. I mean, they said, "Oh no, American football, nothing like rugby. Rugby, much worse." But rugby, you don't play with any sort of padding or helmets, do you?
No, I mean, well, I'm not going to say any sort of padding, because some people have like some form of like padding that's regulation. It's allowed, so it's not armor like in American football, but some people might wear like foam pads in their shoulders. Yeah, it's not common. I mean, it's one of those masculine things generally where, if you turn up with the foam, your other friends are like, "Hey, look at you. Why are you doing this?" Yeah. So that's when I was young. Probably now it's better.
They probably wear mouth guards.
You wear, yeah, exactly. You wear the guards for your teeth, and then you'll probably seen the scrum caps, maybe, that some people wear. It's like a kind of, again, foam kind of helmet that generally
keeps your hair nice.
Well, it's generally because maybe they've had some kind of head injury and they just back off it, or they're prone to it, or they just prefer it. But again, if you get hit with it, if someone headbutts you with it, it's not going to make any difference either way, right? So I would say
not like a helmet.
I mean, it was much more violent than it is now, and I think this is one of the things people are a little bit upset about with the World Cup, because they're trying to, of course, make it safer for the players, which is a good thing, because early onset dementia and stuff, like in American football, I understand, has been happening a lot with rugby players too. But the problem is it's really slowing down the game, and people are being punished for accidental things that they wouldn't have been punished for like 10 years ago, right? And it's really kind of impacting the enjoyment, I think.
Well, that's what you said about that's what your major dislike about American football was. It's all starts and stops. And I said, yeah, they're called plays.
Yeah,
they're called plays.
But like the total playing time, technically in American football, was what, 80 minutes? Like the should be. Yeah. But of course, 20, it takes like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to play a game. Whereas, in rugby, it's 80 minutes, and it's pretty much 80 minutes. Yeah.
Right. So for soccer,
you have all the downs and starts and stops, and
well, there are unfortunately more and more starts and stops, but they're never as long as in American football, and it's not like it's not the same thing. But now when they stop, I
don't know how soccer players do it. Like, they run for all that time. It's unbelievable on the huge field. A soccer field is much larger than an American football field. Much larger.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between rugby and football in that respect. I don't think there's much in it. Rugby pitch is I would say similar size probably to soccer. But
that's where terms like scrimmage come from rugby. Scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different because you have that line of scrimmage in American football, and then in rugby we have something called scrummage, which is when you see the players go in against each other.
Yeah,
they line up and do that kind of stuff. But I mean, there must be some relationship, of course, but how and why the history of it. You know, I was thinking, you never see a BookTube event related to sports, do you? You don't see sports literature or sports books. It's funny, isn't it?
I have to think of one, Mark.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to think of one like you and Roz did for the Women's World Cup, wasn't it?
Well, there are some fantastic novels and, of course, non-fiction based around sport, but you never see any sport events like, you know, let's read sport books or something. But
like that Thomas Harris book, Black Sunday, Thomas Harris of Hannibal Lecter fame. He wrote that football book. Remember?
Yeah, but I mean books like, I mean, there must be a rich tradition of baseball literature in America, for example.
Mark Harris, my mentor, I was talking about. Bang the drum slowly.
Exactly. So I'm talking about these types of books. Now, yeah, I did the World Cup and the Euros and this, but it wasn't books about football. You know, books about soccer.
But it was, I should come up with an NFL book tag. I'll think about that.
Well, I mean, not just that, but you see, you know, I think Conan Doyle does some books about, or stories about boxing. You know, and then you have books about cricket, books about rugby, and all sorts. It would be interesting to see what kind of literature out there is for actual sports stories. Louis L'Amour is another one.
There has to be I mean, a lot of it is going to be geared, I think, to younger audiences.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like football stories and baseball stories, especially what we would consider middle grade to young adult now. You know, because you're trying to engage the athletes in reading those stories, and
true.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a couple coming. Let me get some comments. I just saw a few on topic. Let's get through some other ones. Yes, Bad wants to do the buddy read with you, Alan. You said Station 11, Alan. I immediately thought of Pynchon, The Crying of Lot 49. Don't ask.
Yeah, Nettie loves Crying of Lot 49, and I've never read it yet.
You've never read it?
No.
That's an easy Pynchon. That's like the first one you should be going towards. But you've never read V either.
Second book. I've never read V either. I've never read his first book. No.
Yeah, we had to think about that, Alan. Putting that on the list.
For sure.
Here they said The Natural by Bernard Malamud is a baseball story.
That's a good baseball movie, yeah, or a novel.
There's also one, they based the movie Field of Dreams on it. I can't remember. I think it might be Malamud again who wrote the book. I can't remember the title.
Yeah, there's one called
another writer too. Oh.
There's one good one about rugby called This Sporting Life. I'm just trying to look up the author. I can't remember. David Story, maybe, is that who did it? Yeah, it's about rugby league, and it's you might have seen it, guys. It was actually a film, black and white film that starred Richard Harris.
Oh, I love him.
And it was a great film, and yeah, it was a book as well. But it's all about a bleak Northern English kind of industrial town, and its ups and downs of like the guys who play rugby league up there. I mean, rugby league is a little bit different because we have two types of rugby. When I'm talking rugby, right? We have rugby union, which was the sport I loved and played, and then rugby league, slightly different number of players, slightly different rules, that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter.
Shoeless Joe, Zap came through. Shoeless Joe is the one I was talking about Field of Dreams.
Hey, Mark, what's the name of that Harris film? Do you know the name of it?
This Sporting Life.
Oh, good. I'll try to find it on Amazon Prime.
And when you talk about sport, I read a crime novel about boxing last year. I'm trying to remember the title. I'm not going to remember the title, but it was pretty good. And W.P. Kinsella is the author of Shoeless Joe. Okay. Zap corrected me. I don't remember all these titles.
So,
Okay,
Mark, when's the last time you were at the local pub?
3 weeks ago.
That is way too effing long. What are you doing, Mark?
I don't go that often. I mean, it's one of those things like when you think about the Czech Republic and you think about the beer and all that stuff, maybe when you come, you overindulge immediately. But when you know it's there and it's always there, it kind of becomes a bit samey. But I was there just in one of the beer gardens, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Well, you're back to work too, so
that's it as well, yeah. But I was very pleased to see in the was it the news or the publication of the beer consumption that for the 29th straight year, the Czech Republic has appeared at top consumption per capita in the world. So it's pretty good going.
Yes. Yes, again.
So now, Mark, are you close enough to walk to a pub?
No, yeah. To be honest, there's one literally over the road. It's in a hotel, but it's literally over the road. And then I have another one probably, I don't know, 30 yards away, 40 yards away. Is that big? I can never remember. I'm trying to do it for you guys. You know, I'm like 50 meters away.
Yeah.
You know? So,
what about your new neighborhood, like your new home?
That's going to be the challenge. Yeah, no, there's one kind of like, so we have like the school gym. And the school gym is also like the community event center. And they will put on like maybe a dance once or twice a year max. But then on the end of the building, there's like what in school time is known as like the outside classroom. Will double as a pub. But only run by
I don't like where the story is leading.
Well, it's only run by the villagers, so it would only probably be on Fridays in the summer.
So the pub is next to the gymnasium, which is next to the school.
Well, no, not quite like that, but not far off it. Yeah.
Huh.
You see, where I live, it's like 3 miles to the closest place I could get a drink.
You see, Alan's not coming anymore. Now we heard that.
And the problem is, if I want to go out to a pub, now I would have to limit myself to one beer.
Right, because you're driving. Do you drive, Mark? You don't drive, do you?
No, I don't. No.
No, me neither.
I've never needed to. I mean, it's like, as I say, in town here, I mean, you can't even have one beer here and drink. Yeah, it's completely no tolerant, like zero.
So you can't even. I mean, at least in the States, you have to be over a certain percentage of drink. You know, alcohol blood.
Yeah, like 2.
And one, well, let me say, depending on the beer that I chose. I remember there was a German restaurant I really loved, and they had bottled beer from Czechoslovakia, and one of them was like a 15% alcohol count. And I said, I once went there by myself, and I said, I can't drink it. I'm driving home.
This is 8.8. This is 8.8 Portland Stout.
But
8.8 is pretty high.
I've got a pub like 100 yards up the road here. There's actually 3 of them. One is like they're all in the same building. One's like a traditional Czech pub with like, they have these lower bars. Like in the US and the UK, they have quite high bars, but here they're more waist height in the Czech Republic. And there's one of those, and in the whole building, the beer is tanked beer. So it's piped in. So there's these massive copper vats. and it goes
Yeah.
through all the different pubs. So there's like a bowling upstairs that has it, and then the one
Wow.
downstairs is like a kind of what do you call it, with the fruit machines? You know, the
Tap?
the
A tap?
slot machines. No, like the gambling,
Draft.
Oh,
like slot machines. What do you call them in America? One-arm bandits or what?
One-arm
yeah, slot
Yeah.
machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like in the back it has those, but in the front part it's another pub, but
Oh, cool.
it's called a non-stop, so it never closes.
Ah,
It's open 24/7.
excellent.
And surprisingly, Alan, people smoke in there as well, because it kind of has this feeling that it's like a private club somehow. So it somehow skirts the laws of the land. So yeah, when you go in there,
Excellent.
it's crowd of smoke, everybody's drinking, and it's completely non-stop, which is really, really dangerous.
That sounds almost better than Vegas.
Well, definitely less glamorous, I would say, but you know, it's quite a fun place to be at like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. Friday night, maybe. But otherwise, it's kind of a sad place here because it's just full of the town alcoholics. But you know,
Yeah. My neighborhood, they roll the sidewalk up at like 11 o'clock.
mm,
Yeah, nothing after 11.
no, you can drink nonstop here if you want to. So,
Wow.
Here's a question from Zap. When was the last time you had cake and tea at that little shop?
I don't
Well,
know.
it was about last week, but they're closing it. Oh, he's asking Mark. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's asking you.
We've got a nice bakery across the street, and they are closing, unfortunately. They're retiring, but they've been here for like 40 years, long before I showed up. And I've been there a couple times. You can get scones and big cups of like mocha. I like mocha latte. You know, you can get it, espresso, whatever you want. But no, go ahead and answer his question, Mark.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was for me or for you anyway. So
I don't know.
if it was for me, then it was Saturday.
I have a really good bakery. I have to drive there about 15 minutes, but they do great pastries. They're like bear claws and cinnamon rolls. And
Yeah.
I try to go there once a week at least and
Oh, you do good.
take something home because it's really good.
So, Greg, is there nothing in walking distance? Like, if you had to really pop out and get some,
He's
there's no,
got
like,
a club. He's got his own club there. Don't let him fool you.
No,
there's
Alan, no. If I wanted to go to the grocery store, the closest grocery store is a little over 2 miles away.
So you haven't got any like
Yeah.
corner shop, convenience store just around the
Nothing.
corner.
God.
It is the suburbs. It's nothing.
Wow.
It's totally automobile driven.
Yeah. I've got two different like bodegas I can go to at least. Bunch of like food carts, bunch of restaurants, just spitting distance. But to go to a grocery store, I have to take a bus. To go to Trader Joe's or like Safeway grocery store.
Yeah, there's no bus line where I live.
Wow.
I mean, I live in a 55 plus community, so it's all assumed that everyone has their automobiles, or it's popular here. People buy golf carts.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Yeah.
It is,
Oh,
but
yeah.
golf carts are
My father
expensive.
has a
They're like
golf cart.
$8,000, $10,000, and
Shit. My dad has a golf cart. He's had it for decades in Arizona. Go ahead, Greg. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh no, I'm just saying. As I said, there's nothing of anything of interest really near where I live.
If you get a golf cart, Greg, that's when you know you're old. I don't want to hear you getting a golf cart.
No, and besides, I have a 2-car garage. We have 2 cars, and really, when they call it a 2-car garage, they're exaggerating a little because
Kind of tight.
you really have to squeeze in. So here's
Yeah.
that, Mark. You had a video where you went to a bakery shop.
Yeah, if it's
Oh.
the same one, I'm usually there every weekend. It's part of my routine. I don't always have cake though, but it does happen. But I love it when you live in these small towns and people know you and you know the weight stuff. So I don't even order anymore, right? When I go in there, I just sit down and then they bring over the coffee I would have asked for.
Wow, that's great.
Well, I mean, it does have its like drawback because sometimes I go there thinking, oh yeah, I really fancy maybe a chai latte,
Something else.
something different, and then it's like, my espresso drops down, and I haven't got the heart to say anything because 90% of the time, of course, I would have
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. It's very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's when you know that you're in part of a community.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
there's 9,000 people in this town, and I'd say I'm known pretty well here. I know so many people to like wave at or say hi to and stuff. It's quite crazy, really. I guess it'll probably be worse when I move because it's a community of 130 people. So,
Oh, Lord.
They're going to be so interested in what everything you do in your life.
They will be, but I think they're going to be pretty bored. It's going to be hanging out with Elvis
Yeah.
and doing BookTube.
I bet Mark's going to get a lot of like cookies. He's going to get a lot of like casseroles and blueberry pies.
Well,
a lot of
to be
pies.
honest, having the outdoor space, I do want to get into like maybe barbecuing. I don't mean like the American industrial style barbecue, but grilling stuff outside.
Right.
And having my mates over from work, it'd be every Friday when the weather's good to say to the other teachers, okay, back to mine for gin and tonics and steaks or something. That would be nice.
Very nice.
You have to get a car to go to work and back when you get
No. So I don't know. It's a 45-second walk
to your school
from the house to the school. Yeah.
Oh, that's you. They're going to be over at your house all the time.
Yeah. For
Leave the liquor at Mark's house.
Well, I've already decided to have the kids because there's an afternoon club, and I have to do an afternoon English club. And I think from next year, I plan to do an afternoon English gardening club.
Okay.
Where I'm going to supervise the children gardening my garden in English.
Well, Greg, didn't you hear, Greg? Like Mark, after he builds his house, next to the gymnasium, he's going to build a pub next to his house, so the kids can come do the workout and go to the pub. And
well, that's only a 30-second walk from my house already, anyway, where the pub is, so that's fine.
Cool, man. I want to move there.
Yeah, come on over. It's a small village. They want it to grow.
I'll think about that.
I went there only. I thought he was going to say, but after drinking the Czech beer, I left with company, or I wouldn't have been able to leave at all. Well, Aaron, I have this thing on my finger called a wedding ring, and I have to be very careful if I want to keep it, not to leave with company.
It's a popular thing to say here. I don't know whether it's just that kind of Bohemian European lax attitude to marriage, but I used to say the same thing. It'd be like, oh, she's a nice girl, and yeah, she's really nice. And my friend said, well, go and ask her out. And I'd be like, but she's married. And they're like, it's not a disease. So it's like much more relaxed than us kind of Anglo-Saxons, I think.
I guess so.
Well, I have exciting news.
Mark, they have an ETA
ahead,
in
Mark.
your house?
ETA? Contractually, I think it's March or April. They should finish by, but I think that might be.
Oh,
it depends. It depends how much they're able to do before the winter sets in. Yeah, as long as they make it kind of, watertight, as it were, sealed in, so the roof and the windows and doors and stuff are on, they might be able to do it. But otherwise, I would hope, as long as it's kind of May, June time, I don't mind that.
Yeah, when I had my house built, it was delayed a bit. So that's kind of normal.
Well, I mean, the thing I've got is that I don't want it to be too early because we have really harsh winters, right? So I don't want to find myself moving in the winter, because the last thing you want is like a brand new house with new floors and everything, and then people traipsing in all the mud and crap. So I'd rather like even delay it till the season was better for moving in.
Cool.
I was going to say something, now I forgot. WTF,
I wasn't referring to women. I meant a couple of books for you to carry home. Well, I just got a dirty mind. Oh,
Yeah.
I was about to meet Mark. How's Sean doing? I mean,
Oh, yeah, Sean D. I was going to
Yeah.
ask about Sean D, too.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard from him today, actually. I think he's doing all right. I don't know if he's going to put out any kind of video or anything with any update. I think he's had some decision, but he's waiting, I think, maybe to announce it because he's had like a text decision about his financial situation.
okay.
But he's probably waiting till he gets the written confirmation, of course, through until he knows exactly what's what, and then I guess he'll announce something. So I won't say anything because it's not my place.
Yeah, no.
I think he's, so far all the signs are looking fairly positive, I would say, and it'd be good, it'd be good to have him, to have him back on, back on YouTube, I guess. So
Yeah.
because of course he's not reading really, because everything's packed up. So.
I wonder what he's doing. I can't help wondering what he's doing.
I think he's watching a lot of streaming.
Silent movies.
Well, I think he's watching a few series and stuff on I don't
Oh,
know, one of the streaming things he got from some.
well, I hope his long COVID is better. I mean, it was bad. I did a live show with him on Christmas Eve because I went to we had a Christmas party, but I didn't do shite for Christmas Eve. So Sean and I said, yeah, we'll do a live show. And he was so out of it, it lasted like a half hour. I go, okay, what else, Sean? And he's going, it was just really bad. But I still have it in a playlist. Link below. No, we missed Sean.
It does. I think it does affect him from time to time. When he's on form, he's great fun. But yeah, sometimes I think it does.
Oh yeah, and I'm talking like a year ago.
Yeah. I think he's. I mean, he sounded great today, actually. So
yeah, he sounds much better. I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but I'm glad that it went off so well for him.
Yeah, well,
and he had so much help from like Tilly, Roz's daughter Matilda, and then Gareth showed up, and Aaron Fazer showed up. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, sorry, Elvis lost his toy. Hang on.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I have to get it. It went behind the sofa.
God.
See,
yeah,
Aaron mentioned it. Blokes carrying you home. I guess he's talking about Czech beer. And the problem is, Aaron, is like you have to drive to the pubs here. That's the real issue. Is like if you live where Mark was, you can just have
24/7, baby.
I mentioned it because before we moved,
and gambling too. Gambling.
I was really trying to get my wife to buy a condo in Chicago. And if you're living in Chicago, you just walk down the block and there'll be a pub. And I said, I'd be stumbling home a couple of nights a week.
It's probably why she didn't go for it, Greg.
It's probably wise. And also the condos in Chicago are actually affordable. It's just the property taxes are going to kill you. And then the condo fees are going to knock you. It's like over $1,000 a month for condo fees.
Shit.
Yeah, so
that's paying like probably $1,500 a month.
$1,500 to $1,600 a month minimum, and that's never going away. It's like here we own our home, so we don't have a mortgage, so we're sort of like.
Well, I looked into this, Greg, when Molly and I were together in Toledo. And we'd go to Chicago, not all the time, but I've been to Chicago like 4 times, 6 or 7 or 8 if I count when I was a kid. But we looked into getting or for me applying for low income housing like I have here. Like I only pay $4.75 a month here for my little studio, but it is so perfect for me. Like if this was Chicago or New York, oh my God, man, I'd be paying 25 at least a month for the location and everything.
Have you ever seen the videos of small New York City apartments? I get served them
Yes,
up.
I like those.
Some of them are apartments the size of a closet.
Yeah,
I know.
And
But they have like their bed lifts up, their bed will lift up.
You can reach and touch your arms both walls of your apartment.
Yeah. I
And
used
they're
to
paying like
they call them
$1,000 a month.
SROs. They call them SROs out here, single room only, SRO. And you can basically touch your arm there. But I'm starting to get like a full house in here, you know, everything's packed. You know, I got books over there, got books here, my art over there, you know, music over here. I've got a guitar in Guitar Center right now getting strung up. So it's going to be more guitars. But I'm used to living in a small place. It's easy to pick up, you know.
Yeah.
Just when I thought Chris had redeemed himself with a good book recommendation of sketches of 18th century America, he comes along and says rugby's a primitive sport. Well, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Great
Depends on
fun,
who's playing and who's calling it primitive, right?
Yeah, that's great fun.
Yeah. I think Chris is right. Well, what other sport is more? You might as well call boxing primitive. Are you going to call boxing primitive?
I suppose primitive doesn't mean bad, does it? So
I don't know. I think boxing is. It's fascinating to read about boxing.
Oh, boxing is Neanderthal. It's Neanderthal.
I don't know if I'd actually want to go see. I don't know. There's certain, like you said, it's a very primitive, but it's interesting because it's just two people pounding on each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I like that kind of stuff because I always get excited when it happens in rugby. Yeah, when two guys take a disagreement, it's like ice hockey in America when they suddenly like start pounding each other. You know, they would do this in rugby quite a lot as well, where one person just takes exception to a tackle, punches his neighbor, and then a big fist fight between 30.
How Neanderthal?
No, I don't know. I like it. I'm like,
that's primitive. That's primitive.
You know who wrote about boxing? That's kind of curious. Joyce Carol Oates.
Yeah,
she's a very famous American literary author, and she did a lot of writing about boxing.
Canadian. She's Canadian.
Joyce Carol Oates, I don't think is Canadian.
Oh, you're right. I think she's from Detroit. You're right.
I think you're right. I don't remember, but she wrote a novel about women's boxing that featured women boxers, and I thought that really kind of fascinating. So here we got, The Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner by Alan Stillito.
She's born in Lockport, New York.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Joyce Carol Oates. I love her. I've read what's it called? The Melhorns? No, the Melhorns. And I've read I've read Hagseed. No, that's Atwood. I'm sorry.
No, was Hagseed Margaret Atwood?
Yeah, it is.
And Margaret Atwood was Canadian. So.
And Margaret Atwood is Canadian.
She's Canadian, yeah.
That's how I get confused.
So here's Chris mentioning Black Ajax is about boxing, and that's George MacDonald Fraser.
Fraser.
So Mark, when are we going to have a Flashman event on YouTube.
You know, we need to. I mean, I was looking at them the other day, and I was thinking, yeah, I really want to get stuck into these. I mean, the problem with these events, like, I'm part of the Hornblower. Are you in the Hornblower one, Greg?
No, I'm not.
So I'm in that, and I was going good guns for the first 3 books, and I haven't touched them since. And it's nothing against it, but I think it's always difficult if you try and do it across the thing. But I suppose, you know, with Flashman, we could just, like anyone just reads what they want rather than have it going on for an entire year or something. But
yeah, you know, I when I first discovered them back in the 90s, I read like 8 of them like in like 8 months, and I was like, wow. And then afterwards, okay, it's too much eventually.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if I was to kick it off, I'd probably actually kick it off with reading Tom Brown's School Days again.
I've never read Tom Brown's School Days.
I know that the link really isn't that.
It's minor,
but it's still good fun. You know, I quite like Tom Brown's School Days. I know people have mixed feelings about it. I don't know, but actually, interestingly, the school Tom Brown and Flashman go to
is rugby,
which is where William Webb Ellis picked up the ball and started the game of rugby. So yeah, there is that link. So.
And I'm surprised they're still publishing Flashman nowadays. I'm surprised someone hasn't gotten to the point where you can't publish him anymore.
Well, I think someone that I was listening, because like as I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? And there's one nice one called The Rest is History. And the historians on that, they're both quite big fans of Flashman, actually. And they were saying that it all depends on the reading. Like, so George MacDonald Fraser does write some racist things and he says things, but I think they were implying that a lot of him doing this kind of stuff and a lot of the way he portrays the characters is more of a kind of satire, if you like, on empire and imperialism. Because the way, I guess, because how he, if you look at his own personal life compared to like some of the characters and stuff that he writes, is very different. Yeah. And I think he's actually kind of being anti-imperial in the way that he writes how horrible and ridiculous and nasty Flashman and his people are. So maybe that's how he kind of gets away with it these days. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Have you read his autobiography?
No, I have not.
No, it's very good. You know, he was a soldier in the Second World War, out in Southeast Asia. So I think, if I remember rightly, Southeast Asia. Quartered Safe Out Here. It's called.
Quartered Safe Out Here. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not even sure that's available in the U.S.
Maybe, I don't know. It's definitely on Kindle. Okay.
Now, I don't know, Mark. I tried to read it, but someone tried to write a series about Flashman's grandfather.
I think they did one about Flashman's grandfather, and then did one about some nephew or something.
No, this one about the grandfather has at least 6 or 8 books in it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're self-published, though.
I think so, and the same. Maybe it's the same guy, but there is one about either his nephew, because he didn't have a son, did he, or did he have a? I don't know.
Well, this one was definitely about the grandfather who bailed out the McDonald Flashman a couple times with money.
Yeah.
And I tried. I couldn't even finish. It was just like Fraser had this charming way with Flashman. It's like, he was
said the younger ones are not that bad because they really recommended the. Oh my goodness! Oh, unless I'm. No, maybe I'm actually wrong. No, because there is a Flashman with the Zulus, isn't there? It's Flashman. Yeah, no, I'm wrong. Yeah, sorry. Maybe there's only the grandfather. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know.
But no, I didn't try. It's like the Sherlock Holmes thing. I struggled to get into any kind of like fan fiction or pastiches or this kind of stuff.
That's what I thought. I mean, it was $2.99 on Kindle, and I said I'll try it.
I guess technically, Flashman is of course based off somebody else's use of the character as well.
So here's Aaron. He has a comment. Given what George MacDonald Fraser said in interviews, I don't think he was satirizing the British Empire.
I don't know, Aaron. I mean, Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook seem to be of a different opinion, but I don't know.
I don't know. I looked it up once, and it sounded like Fraser would have been voting conservative out there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
When are we going to talk about Ireland?
Talk about Ireland.
You guys are talking over my head. I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. You've probably never read the Flashman books, Alan.
No.
All right.
You might like them, though, Alan.
You might.
Are they about England?
Huh.
No.
But an Englishman.
Well, I probably wouldn't like it then.
I'm not sure Flashman ever made it to Ireland.
Lucky for the Irish.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
So, Alan, are you going to hold up your Ulysses to show us how big it is?
Yeah.
You mentioned just how big that book is.
Yeah, Greg, I might have to give this to you. It's so heavy I can't even take it on the plane. There's no way. Look at my head, okay? Look how big this is.
That's a huge.
It's a tome. I never realized it was this big.
Well, you read it. Now, I'm going to show you an even bigger book. I've seen it.
I know you showed us before, but show us again. He's got a big black book. It's huge. That's what this is like. This is like collecting Shakespeare or something. Much bigger than War and Peace, bigger than my collected Edgar Allan Poe. It's huge.
Yeah, that is
Now,
pretty.
what was the
Arno Schmidt, Bottom's Dream.
That's my hand.
And is it thick as well? I can't. Okay.
Oh, man.
I can barely
Oh,
hold it.
jeez. That's crazy big.
And it has like 3 columns of text. Oh, the crazy books that we have.
So you're getting rid of it, Alan, or?
No, I just got it. It's like my bucket list. It costs $40.
Yeah.
It costs $40, but I had the money. I said, screw it. I'm going to get it, and I'm glad I did. It has maps, but I have maps and Ulysses Annotated, a book I'm bringing to Greg, but it has maps. It has essays by Joyceans I know. When I say know, like I'm their acquaintances or I've met them. Like I met a lot of Joyceans in Dublin. I was really blessed when I went over there on scholarship in the 90s. And and I talked to Catherine Flynn, the editor of this, on Zoom last year. They did like a Ulysses read-through, but I never knew it was so. Oh my God, it's so, big. Just I never knew. But I mean, if I ever moved, I'd be tempted to take it to Powell's, like for a trade-in, or because it must weigh 6, 7, 8 pounds. Yeah. But we're going to be reading Ulysses next June and July, I think, Greg.
Okay.
And I'll be using this for reference.
So Aaron said, Fraser once said his favorite prime minister was Sir Alec Douglas Home because he did nothing whilst in office. He wasn't he wasn't most definitely a man not of the left.
Oh no, I mean he wouldn't have been on the left, but it doesn't mean he can't satirize the British Empire. And I think, I think the Flashman books are regarded as kind of satire on this kind of boys' own adventure stuff. By the way, Greg, just for weirdness of English pronunciation, it's often Sir Alec Douglas Hume, even though it's written home. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's one of those things.
Yeah, I know. And I think like the name St. John here, isn't it pronounced St. John over there?
St. John. Yeah, I think when it's a first name generally, not
Oh,
always. People debate it, but I've known one or two St. Johns in my time, and it's spelled St. John but pronounced St. John. But it's like
David St. John is a great
like,
American poet over here.
Cholmondeley is Chumley. Yeah, and Beauchamp is Beecham. It's this kind of thing. Marjorie Banks is Marchbanks. These things, so it's like weird.
You just have to know what they're talking about, huh?
You have to know, yeah, exactly. Well, I guess it's like Magdalen College, Oxford. There's Magdalen College, yeah. So it's just one of these things.
Oh, yeah.
My book is bigger, literary machismo. I guess so.
Well, I have, they're too big. I can't actually get them. My parents bought for me a couple of years ago. I don't know when they were done, but they're, what do you call it? Not replicas, facsimiles. Facsimiles of Johnson's two volumes of his dictionary. But they're like proper, folio size and just massive, leather bound things. But my parents are almost both in their 70s. One of them is, and I just didn't have the heart to try and get them to bring it on a suitcase over here. So I had to get it at some point. But yeah, that would be big. I think I'd have a good chance in this competition if I actually had them to hand. So
yeah, it's interesting about the size of books because when I was in New York, we visited a library of James Seward, who was the Secretary of State when Lincoln got assassinated. And they actually have his original book collection in his house. And some of those books, the size of the book, not this thick, but it's tall. It's like they just made books bigger back then. Like you said, but the Johnson Diary is like just huge.
Yeah, the Buffalo notebooks at University of Buffalo, Greg, where they keep the letter, how Joyce wrote Finnegan's Wake. The notebooks are huge because he wrote so big he couldn't see.
That's what I say. He was nearly blind when he wrote that.
Yeah, so they're called the Buffalo notebooks, and you can buy facsimiles, copies of them. You can buy them online for $100 or so. I could get a copy of the Buffalo notebooks, but if you want to see the real ones, you have to go to Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron. Okay, Mark. If you can see that, you're going to have to say what is the. I would go man warring or main warring.
Well, it depends. If you're Captain Square, you would call him main wearing, but if you're the man himself, he's Mannering.
Mannering. Okay.
Come in.
Oh, did you hear that? I'm sorry. I'm about ready to fill up my tobacco pipe.
All right. Well, do we have anything else that we wanted to cover today?
I don't know. I mean, I might have to go to bed soon.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Almost 8 o'clock. I get up at 4:30 every day.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go to bed. Does
I have
Elvis
exciting news.
One final walk?
I have exciting news.
Oh, what?
I'm getting new glasses. I have to go pick them up. So I won't have to go like this all the time.
That's cool.
Yeah, probably getting. So they're like polarized. So one is with polarized sunglasses. Then I have an extra pair but these are my old. I broke my good pair months ago. Like I used to have this good pair. For those keeping it stored at home, I used to have that good pair. So these are actually my old pair from 5-6 years ago, and these are from like 3 years ago. So I'm due for. So
when you say polarized, you mean like all the time?
They turn into sunglasses in the sun.
That's what mine do that actually, and it's really great, but it's quite weird as well because you don't really notice it, but when you catch yourself in the mirror, you think, "Oh, I didn't put on sunglasses this morning," and then of course you realize.
Oh wow, cool! So I'm looking forward to looking cool again.
Is it possible to look cooler?
I need all the help I can get.
So here's Zap. I always thought we should go back to the 19th century policy of publishing large books in individual volumes. Makes it easy to carter around. I think I understand. Like when you get like War and Peace, it's just or the Count of Monte Cristo. It's hard to hold a physical book. But
the multi-volumes are better in some ways for that, isn't it?
I'm going digital for a lot, and holding the Kindle, you can read War and Peace and not worry about it.
It's true. But obviously, a lot of the like Japanese, Chinese translations, they tend to publish these things in volumes still, rather than one big book. Yeah.
Well, I have like the Dream of the Red Chamber, I think is a famous Chinese. And again, it's published when you look at the 4 volumes, it's like 2,500 pages long or something, which you really could not hold.
No.
But it's interesting. Like the largest one that I have here. No, here's a nice large one. Right, this is 1 volume. And then the first one is like 700 pages long.
Yeah.
And this one, it's sort of confusing because it says it's 1,716 pages.
Yeah.
But you look at it, and the first page in this volume is like page 730 or something like that.
Okay. And who is that?
Robert Musil. It's a very famous German novel. I read the first volume, and it's really just not. It's hard to describe because it doesn't really have a story to the book. I mean, it sort of has a story, has some characters, but it's mostly the author's impression of Vienna during the World Wars. He started writing it after World War I, and he's still writing it when World War II started up. So he had a little trouble finishing it.
Yeah, can imagine. Dear.
Not the kind of book the political climate was encouraging back then.
No.
All right, we've been at this for an hour and 48 minutes. So, whoa! Here comes Winter. Hi, Winter. Sorry you came in. I know maybe she didn't come in late, but she says, "Hi, people. I have an old German translation of War and Peace, 2 volumes, with very thin paper. They are quite convenient."
Well, Mark and I heard Mark and Sean D are threatening to read War and Peace next January.
True, it's true.
And then Anna Karenina in February, right?
I don't know if it's straight on, but sometime next year, probably. Yeah, Anna Karenina. Hi, Jim.
Yeah, count me into both those. I'll be rereading War and Peace. Hey, Jim. I'm gonna hope you guys. I'll support you in that. I loved War and Peace. I don't know why I waited so long. I waited 59 years to read that. I finally read it. It only took me 5 weeks, and I really wasn't. at a fast pace or anything.
Hmm.
I read 2 different translations, and then Anna Karenina I've read before too. So I'd love to reread that.
All right. Well, I said we've been at it for an hour and 49 minutes. Mark's probably got to go to bed, he said.
Sorry,
Oh, yeah,
guys.
another
That's
thing.
why I don't go to the pub.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, another thing. Yeah, no, I'm just teasing.
Let's call it a night.
Call it a night.
And
Call it a
thank
morning,
you everyone for commenting.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Mark, for showing up and talking with us.
I got to get my glasses.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to end it here. Have a good night, everyone.
Hey,